Heyo everybody, Haku here, reading the second part of Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku. We're a magical girl raising project. Restart chapter 3, The Detective and the Murder. First half that I recorded yesterday. Let's go over what happened. So, we saw Detic Bell is a genius and has the power to smooch buildings, and I quite like her. Well, I mean, she wasn't established as a genius, but she's very smart in putting this together quite well. My favorite character got her head smooshed in by a rock, which is not exactly a good way to start this week's chapter for me. Daisy was confirmed dead, but I mean, it was kind of already an assumption kind of thing based on what happened. I guess. Is that all that important? Well, Petchka kind of became the cooking housewife for Nina Miyakun and her team. I guess that's about it. I mean, nothing else. We learned a bit more about Ple and Shadowgale, and Ple kind of getting a little bit lewd, raising her skirt, and that's how she made friends in the all-girl school. Hang on, what? But, apparently. She has a grandfather complex in a way. I guess that's really all we learned. Something like that. But now we're finally getting to see nokko-chan's group again. And as for who bashed in favorite character Masked Wonder's head with a rock, really, to me it doesn't make sense that it would be anyone other than Melville's team, but even then it doesn't make total sense who would have done it. And if anything, I mean, you could see Leonetta because of her personality, but I doubt it because I feel like she's been with her team most of the time. If anything, though, it could even be whoever it is that's running the test did it in order to make them turn on each other. Because if one of them ends up murdered, then they're all going to suspect each other and start to fight each other. And that could be the plan all along, to be honest. So, I guess that could always be a possibility. I could see the writing going that way, that they just sort of have the murder as a frame job in order to make them turn on each other. Possible. Now we're finally getting to see Nokko-chan, so let's read about her. Some of these names sometimes in Japanese, difficult to read. Manabagawa Elementary School, 4th grade class 2, were known as the Pleasant at first I thought it said peasant class. Pleasant class. They worked together for things such as athletics meetups, or culture festivals. They never ridicule or condemn any failures. If you make good results, then everyone would be delighted. Even if they made mistakes, everyone could laugh about it in the end. Friction between boys and girls, bullying the weak, bad-mouthing, none of those existed at all. Their homeroom teacher, Mr. Noguchi, was in charge of 6th grade until last year. They knew he had a habit of yelling at his students. His nickname was the Square because he had a square-looking face. When Mr. Noguchi went into 4th grade class 2, he changed. He became very bright and cheerful. Since then, he's never shouted at any students ever. But why does 4th grade class 2 exude an atmosphere like that? The only one that knows the truth is Noriko Nonohara. Whenever someone's in a bad mood, she'll change their heart to become happy and joyful. Whether someone feels sad, anger, jealousy, or any negative feelings, in the Pleasant class, such emotions were always reduced. She controlled them to become a bright and cheerful class. She used her powers to propagate and spread her emotion to others. So is that her ability to spread her emotion to others? That's why the magical girl Nokko-chan can change this depressing and gloomy class into something else. Noriko Nonohara is a very committed magical girl. How committed was she? From the moment she was reborn as a magical girl until now, she's been a magical girl longer than she's been human. She became a magical girl when she was 4 years old. Now she's 10 years old. She was a 6-year magical girl veteran. As a magical girl, she also had a philosophy of how to live, and she knew how to remove the proper authorities. That's really cool, though, because you'd think she's a veteran. She's been through a lot being 6 years as a magical girl, though technically she is still only 10 years old. When she's talking about removing proper authority, she doesn't mean sabotage or laziness. Rather, it's more like she knew loopholes that a newbie magical girl didn't know. The land of magic can be inflexible. They'd stubbornly and obstinately never yield to their decisions. It was similar in offices in the real world, too. Regarding Noriko's origins in becoming Nokko-chan, everything she said to Magical Daisy was true. However, the inflexible Land of Magic had a very lax monitoring system. In Nokko-chan's district, their experimental system was below standards. For some magical girls, they had a supervising magical girl who would report back to the Land of Magic. It was kind of like an intermediary role. Because the Land of Magic doesn't directly supervise them, how strict the rules are enforced is based on the supervisor's discretion. Some supervisors were loose, mediocre, unruly, unprecedented, and rarely compliant. She wouldn't report anything, even if who she supervised was acting seriously. As for Nokko-chan's group, her own supervisor probably never reports anything back to the Land of Magic. She didn't blame Nokko-chan for wanting to improve her own living environment, rather than going out into society to save people. She was very inconspicuous in class, solving any problem secretly using magic. After school she'd visit her mother, who was hospitalized, making her heavy heart just a bit lighter. After that, she'd go back home and do some housekeeping. Nokko-chan's magic couldn't be used to manipulate emotions as she wished. She had to spread her own emotions. If she wanted to make someone happy, she had to desperately remember anything that made her happy. Then her magic will succeed. Thanks to her youthfulness as a 10-year-old, she became a master of deceiving herself. Because her mother was hospitalized, Noriko was also in charge of all the housework. Then she'd get tired once more. She had no time to spare to use her magical skill to serve the world. She had to first take care of herself. However, she was still managing to hold on, at least until now. About half a year ago, Nokko-chan's supervisor had been expelled. The reason for her expulsion was that apparently she'd done something bad, and it had been exposed then. Magical girls are usually full of hopes and dreams, yet she had produced a scandal. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe her supervisor was actually Clamberry, but Clamberry was a supervisor of tests, so I guess that wouldn't really make sense. Or it could have been one of the girls that Snow White took down, like the one she beat with the fire extinguisher, damn Snow White. Or even, what's her name? Pithy, but I mean, Pithy was both a recruiter and a mentor, so I guess that wouldn't make sense either. Either way, I'll continue on. The Land of Magic didn't want it to get out of hand, so they quickly found a successor to her. That replacement supervisor was a lot more serious with her role. Because of that scandal, they specifically looked out for a supervisor who would be inflexible in her job. That's just what the Land of Magic was like. Nokko-chan had to do the regular magical girl job of going out into the world and saving other people. That damned serious supervisor sent a report that said she's a non-active magical girl who prioritizes herself over others. Even worse, she could strip her of her qualifications. While she tried to lead her class to a good direction, she helped people in the town. While doing that, she also took care of housework. Now she also has to focus on the game. She wasn't interested in the game itself. She didn't have time to raise a new generation. It was the participation fee and the clear rewards that interested her. If she could get over 1 billion, then she'll do the best she can. Nokko-chan checked her account. Last year she didn't have much money deposited. Now she had 10,000 yen. If she could clear an area, she could get 1 million. I really, really like that. I really like that backstory. Makes me like Nokko-chan a whole lot more. All of the characters, even in Arc 1, all the characters have really well written backstories, I think, in my opinion. Now it looks like we're taking a scene break, so we're probably jumping back to them in the game. She tilted her head. From the lava, Jenna Psycho's helmet emerged. Then her visor, her neck, her hand following her just after that. On her other hand there was a small key. Standing just beside Nokko-chan, Nyan breathed out a sigh of relief. Score. So according to that scroll, there's an altar thingy somewhere at the bottom. Took me a few tries, but I found it. Yumanashima, I really thought you had melted, Rue. Nah, it's all good. This suit could withstand the Big Bang itself. Genosako placed her hands on the shore and climbed up to land. Man, it's such a shame that we will never get to know like Daisy thought. Her ability is to destroy anything it touches, but Genosako can, withstand anything. So if something is worded as absolutely as destroy anything, or as absolutely as protect against anything, then what would happen if the two powers interacted? So interesting. She was right. Nowhere in her suit did it show any signs of melting or burning. The person inside seemed to be fine as well. Genocycle brushed off any remaining lava, tilted her visor, and smiled. 1 gate key and 1,000,000 yen coming right up. All right, let's go to the next area. After the grassland area, next was the mountain area. When the game resumed, it was already opened. It seems that some party must have opened it before the game ended. Armed with short spears, daggers, bows, shields, and leather armor, it was an army of goblins. Their strength and tactics were a little better than the skeletons. Some had dirty little robes with twisted wands and canes. They'd mumble and chant something weird, then cast a large fireball. Sometimes, in a group of them, there'd be around 2 larger creatures mixed in with them. Their strength was comparable to a magical girl's. They'd stomp around with a gigantic club. Still, they were no match for a magical girl. They were too slow and clumsy to keep up. When a goblin moved once, a magical girl would be able to move 10 times, although it would hurt if a goblin's attack hit a magical girl. If a magical girl's attack hits a goblin, it would be fatal. Okay, also, if they're getting to be the strength of a magical girl, like the physical strength, even if they're slower and stuff, just in the 3rd area, I have a feeling that these enemies are going to be getting quite hard. Not even long into the future, they're going to be running into some tough enemies. However, unlike skeletons, if they hit a goblin, blood was shed. It was a little more disheartening to attack them. They looked so bloody and bruised, and sometimes you may even feel pity if you saw their teeth and face smeared with blood. When Nokko-chan crushed their cranium with her mop, it felt more visceral than the skeletons. Oh, Nokko-chan, you cute little thing. It felt like she was actually taking a life. Although corpses disappear in about 2 hours, that feeling will remain with her forever. It was an all-too-real feeling. However, although the shock of Magical Daisy's death was still there, she was still able to defeat the monsters. They wouldn't be able to beat the game if they let it bother them every time. Nokko-chan was able to deceive herself as best she could. She filled the heads of both Genocycle and Atnyan with those feelings of happiness and joy. Magical Daisy's death was an accident. Nobody was responsible for it. Next time they faced an unknown enemy, they'd be careful. Throwing in also a thing, I guess it's weird that Detic Bell met them, interrogated them, and then just went off on her own and didn't join their team. It's kind of odd. Wonder what Detic's doing. If they fight monsters after they purchase the picture books, then they'll eliminate any what-ifs from the equation. Still, the gaping hole in her body, Nokko-chan will never forget the figure of Magical Daisy who died as spilling blood through it. For as long as she lived, she will never forget it. They dug a grave and buried Magical Daisy's body there. They placed stones as a grave marker as well. She'll never forget when the 3 of them cried while hugging each other. But it was an accident. Magical Daisy may have died there, but I'm sure she's fine in real life, said Genocycle to Nokko-chan, trying to comfort her. That's what Nokko-chan hoped for. That's what Nokko-chan thought. And Nokko-chan could help with that as well. They can't be sad forever. Deception is good. Players should forget their sorrows and focus on clearing the game. Nokko-chan will also do her best to clear the game. As they entered the mountain area, they saw a decayed old mountain. In there, they found an ancient scroll. The scroll definitely didn't lie, but everything from its annotation to its postscript were written in an ancient language. There was an app that you could purchase in the mountain town, the Translator Kun. Okay. Find the branch of the mountain people. Use that branch to... Hold on. Ancient scroll. Okay. Find the branch of the mountain people. Use that branch to perform a ceremony in the mountain people's shrine. There you will gain the mountain people's testimony. Using that testimony, perform an ancient dance in front of the lake of lava. Once you do, the altar of the mountain people shall emerge. There you will find the key of the mountain people. Only then can you open the gate to the next area. P.S. To learn the dance of the mountain people, place a hookah on the scales located within the mountain town. It will then be taught to you through your magical phones. To create the hookah, you will need 3 materials. There are hints as to what the materials were, scattered in various places. From there, you should guess the answers as best you can. After finishing reading those long instructions, "Alrighty," said Genocycle happily, raising her right arm high. "If it's just a little lava, then it's a piece of cake." She lowered her visor. "Check this out," she said to Nokko-chan and Yan-Yan, and dived into the lava lake. She jumped in without warning and got the key from the mountain people's altar. Genocycle's super cheat. Haha, knew it'd work. 1,000,000 yen. This is the greatest day of my life. Well then, should I use it in our next lockout period or no? That won't be good. That'd be good, won't it? Next time we log out. 1,000,000 yen means that I could go out and drink as much sake as. Means you could go out and. I could go out and drink as much sake as you'd want, right, Rue? Whoa, you can't spend all that on alcohol, Nyan. Save a bit of it. Money's super important, you know. The sulfuric odor and burning heat, the lava lake that demanded them not to stay any longer, now became a wonderful memorial place. Teasing, grabbing shoulders, the three of them were smiling. Ever since Magical Daisy was gone, they haven't been able to smile for a long time. Right now, Nokko-chan felt joy, and thus she spread her emotion to the other two as well. Let's continue on to the next area, Rue. There should be some candies and some more money as area rewards as well, Rue. You're right. That's 500 more candies to add to the collection. Woohoo! Alright, let's add to the mountain town first. The text ringtone sounded. The help button blinked in their magical phones. Urgent meeting, Pone. Everyone is to return to the wasteland town immediately, Pone. Genocycle placed her fingers on the helmet. She had a panicked look. She was trying to pull out her hair, though Nokko-chan guessed her helmet prevented that. Okay. Oh, come on, I'm having a moment here. There's an emergency, Pone. You'll all be teleported 1 minute from now, Pone. Thank you for your patience, Pone. The black and white sphere disappeared as soon as he said what he needed to say. Even if the three of them were left there, there's no one to argue with. If there's no one to argue with, they had no choice but to follow. I wonder what the fuss is about. For now, let's just go, okay? I swear, I don't know what's going on in that sex beast's head. I hope it's not something bad, Rue. Nyan was anxious. Genocycle was frustrated. That's why Nokko-chan had to remember happy and joyful feelings. Okay, I love Genocycle. That was a great scene for her. But man, that was such a good full sequence for Nokko-chan. That was so good for her character. Yeah, and I guess there's going to be a meeting about the murder. So I guess we'll see what goes from there. We're jumping to Pechka for this tiny little scene box. In addition, there'll be some corrections I have to announce, as well as some additional announcements, Pone. Just the other day, magical girls were lining up in the town square. Today, magical girls were lining up in the town square. Some were sitting on the edge of the fountain. Some were leaning on the walls of the buildings. Although this was the second time she saw it, it was still a spectacular sight. Fall contacted them just a while before. The party's atmosphere had changed considerably. A whole day has passed since Pechka cooked food. She's cooked 3 times so far. Because of Pechka's magical skill, she can make any elaborate food she wants, so long as she waited 5 minutes. She can make a full-course meal in the amount of effort it would take people to reheat frozen food. No matter what the dish was, Pechka's cooking was always welcome. Miyokata Nonako and Leonetta both competed in giving compliments, while Clantail kept her mouth closed, though her tail always seemed to buzz around left and right. Delicious. Pechka's the best. Exquisite taste. You don't mind becoming my personal chef, do you? Their change in attitude continued even after mealtime, and they alternated between physical labor, prioritizing item distribution, and they were willing to do things that they didn't consider before. There were no more complaints, even when Pechka didn't participate in combat. If you do decide to fight, please be sure to keep your hands safe. It would be a great shame, not just for the party, but for the whole world if you lost your ability to cook, said Leonetta jokingly. While lightly grabbing Pechka's hands, Leonetta praised her with high spirits in her eyes. Pechka gained confidence. She was no longer the one who needed these girls, but these girls needed her as well. Other party members also looked like they were having some fun. Wait, there was one exception. The black nurse magical girl. She had a pale blue face about her and was shaking. She looked like she's going through some hard times. Pechka thought about the magical girls who she's never talked with. First, let's make a correction. Sand was collected in the middle of the fountain. A magical foam was set up there, and from it emerged fall. Even though they couldn't see the dust collecting on it, there were particles emitted in the light of the 3D stereoscopic image. Both I, as your mascot, and my master have made a mistake regarding how damage won't be feedbacked into reality, Pone. Damage won't be feedbacked into reality if you cut your skin or break your bones, Pone. However, if you die, a strong shock will be applied to your heart, Pone. Unfortunately, if you die in your virtual form, there will be an unavoidable adverse effect to your real-life form, Pone. Please forgive me. Also, as this is a secret game, if you talk to non-participants, then the same penalty as death will be applied, Pone. That is all. So, pretty much, death kills you. If you tell somebody about it, it kills you. Damn. Okay, hold on. I'm just taking this in and thinking about it so that I don't get confused later on. Okay. Of course, you could always survive the strong shock. I mean, they probably won't, but it's possible. And I find this interesting. We still haven't seen Detic if she found this out or not beforehand, if she was able to find Magical Daisy or not in those 3 days. The sound of wind could be heard flowing through the square, combined with the sound of dust flying as well. No other sound was made other than that. Everyone looked at Fall. Everyone thought about those words. Everyone was silent. No one opened their mouths. A blue magical girl spoke first. This is a prank, right? No. From now on, I'm only speaking the truth, Pone. If you want to survive, please clear the game, Pone. I know there's a risk of death, but the rewards you were presented with in the beginning will still be properly paid. You've got to be kidding me. What are you saying? How can we let something like that slide? Anger flew out at the same time. Val, who had an expressionless face, calmly looked at them all. This is the same as your tests, Pone. A test to see if you're a proper magical girl's, Pone. If you were all proper magical girls, then surely you can clear the game. If you want to survive, please clear the game, Pone. You can survive if you clear the game, Pone. He repeated the same words over and over. That is all. Those were my master's words that she wanted me to say to you, Pone. Those weren't Fall's words. He was relaying a message from his master. That was what Petchka concluded. Petchka was trembling. She wanted to run away, but there was nowhere she could run to. She felt all the blood had drained from her head. Her feet were trembling. She felt like she would collapse at any moment, yet she didn't collapse. The other magical girls were angry, shouting, beating the walls, and some tried to lunge for Fall, though because he was just a stereoscopic image, it didn't work. I'd like to ask some questions. Is that all right with you? The wheelchair magical girl Fleh, when Petchka met her in the grassland town, she was just as calm as she was now. Even though she was in the middle of all this confusion and chaos, her voice was heard. Although everyone was screaming and shouting, they all turned to look around at her. Fleh began speaking with Fall. You say that a strong shock will be applied to the heart. Is there no way to endure it? Impossible, Pone. Obviously not for a human, but even if you're a magical girl, it's unendurable, Pone. What if you tried to resuscitate them? Impossible, Pone. I see. I assumed there would be some way out of it. Well then, my next question. Our magical phones have malfunctioned, and I'd like to know the cause of that. Were you the one responsible for prohibiting contact with the land of magic? Murmurs started spreading. It's true that they couldn't seem to contact the land of magic. Petchka had tried to confirm with them about this game. Every time she sent mail to them, it was always sent back to her. She's always thought that it was a bit strange. How could such a thing even happen? Ninamiya-kun filled her head, so she decided not to think at all. Fall blinked. Because we wanted to start from scratch in teaching the game to players other than you on NG, we decided that contact with the land of magic and vice versa should be prohibited, Pone. Did you now? Muttered Fleh. She spread out both palms widely, and an even larger voice came out. Her voice, its height, its beauty, she silenced the hustle and bustle of the town square with just her voice. It seems that we've been forced to play this game. You've all seen that they're using brute force to do this. Our enemies have enough power to do what they want to us. I will not lose to bastards like those. A magical girl dressed like a doll spoke up, interrupting Fleh. Fleh glanced at the doll magical girl. In our present condition, we have no way to win. After which she continued, I say we continue the game. Instantly, people began to object against Flea. You're willing to accept the enemy's arguments. You're going to just give up? There's no point in participating in this game. Flea nodded at all their opinions. Yet, she affirmed none of them. We're cut off from the land of magic. We're facing a game that we don't understand, and a powerful master behind it all, who, if we decide to move against her, will show resistance. However, it is because we are magical girls that we were pulled into this game, and we will complete it with ease. Defeating enemies, that goal hasn't changed at all for us. But first, for the time being, I will listen to you all. You realize that there's no guarantee we'll be released from this game even if we complete it. Leonetta, of course, she was irritated. I know this is strange, but for the time being we have no choice but to trust this master. I know that others can confirm it, but the rewards promised to my team have been deposited in the account as promised. Money has been deposited. That gives me some peace of mind, at least. It's great that the rewards that they promised are true, and we know now that we can die in the game, but how do you expect us to believe anything they say? About that, Fall took over. Everyone's gazes gathered at Fall, each one of them harsh. From now on, there won't be any falsehoods from me, Bone. My word is my master's words, Bone. Everything I say will be the truth, Bone. And who can guarantee that? All I can say is that you believe what I say, Bone. Even without any guarantees, all we can do is believe you. We're all birds in a cage now. Although Flea casually threw those words out, Petchka couldn't see any sign of resignation from her words. Her expression was ominous and vivid. I'd like to add to this discussion. A magical girl's right hand was raised as she took center stage. She had a hunting cap, a cape, and a coat. She dressed like a detective. My name is Detic Bell. As you can see, I'm a detective. The detective magical girl who said, "As you can see, I'm a detective," probably meant it as a joke to lighten the mood. However, no one laughed. She didn't even want to point it out, Detic Bell continued. The other day, as soon as we were released from the game, I spent my time investigating a certain someone's whereabouts. I wanted to know just what kind of state they were in. I'm sure this information has a very important meaning for us all. Belzy, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but who's this certain someone you're talking about? The blue magical girl had some doubt, and Detic Bell closed her eyes. That person would be Magical Daisy. I wanted to investigate what kind of state Magical Daisy was in. Detic Bell opened her eyes and continued. I'm sure some of you may already know. Magical Daisy, she once had an anime based on her successful activities. Based on the anime setting and location, I found an area where it's based on and started from there. I confirmed it using my own magical skill. The place I investigated was where Magical Daisy was active as a magical girl. Of course I investigated further using my magic once more, and I got closer to finding out her status. I found her family home, and from there her apartment. At her apartment there were police cars and ambulances. After that, the bystanders told me everything I needed to know. I listened to what they say. The time that... Why is my voice messed up now? The time that she died was when she was playing the game. To be precise, it was exactly a few moments after. That about covers it. Magical Daisy was dead. That means what False said about how dying in the game means you die in reality was true. Magical Daisy was a famous celebrity. Her sudden death should make the land of magic suspicious. They may begin to distrust themselves, and that may lead to a discovery. Perhaps then they may stop the game if they find out that the deaths here are linked with the real world. Detic Bell looked at Fall. Fall rocked silently. I don't mind if it ends up playing out like that, Pone. Detic Bell nodded, satisfied with that reply. That is all from me. She returned to where she was standing before and sat down. That was amazing, Belzy, as expected of the great detective, said the blue magical girl. Petchka wondered if she understood the situation right now. Everyone that did understand was confused. Okay, so maybe Detic is actually part of the Melville, Cherna, and Lapis team. Everyone that did understand was confused. Clantail strutted her hooves in small steps. Her tail hung down limply. Miyakata Nanako seemed to be angrily crying, messing with the yin-yang decorations on her hair. Leonetta was clearly angry. Damn it all, how the hell did it turn out like this? I simply cannot believe it. While everyone else expressed themselves to each other, Petchka felt empty inside. She understood that this situation was completely abnormal. Everyone aside from her didn't just accept that things turned out this way. Everything that was said seemed to have been prepared before. But where has she heard these lines before? Where has she heard those words? Man, that was... I'm going to take a break here, even though it's not quite a scene break. Man, that scene was amazing. That was so good. Gosh. Like, all the different characters and stuff, seeing Detik's speech, Flez's speech, all of it was just so good. And it seems... So they die in real life, but it really does seem like Fall doesn't really want to go along with it, but because he's a familiar, he can't say no to his master, you know? Like when he said he'd be okay with it ending by the Land of Magic finding out and stopping the game. Like, it seems Fall is kind of... and we saw it last chapter as well at the end, where Fall was like, you know, you said that this wouldn't happen, and the master was like, stuff happens. So, yeah, very interesting. I also think, if I was in that situation, and I was expecting Flett to say this, I would be like, why don't the 14 of us that are left work together to clear the game? I know they said we can only be joined in groups of whatever, but I think if we all want to live, how about we all just team up together? That should work the best. I'm gonna grab some water. But yeah, that's at least what I would think. I would think, like, the more that we try to stop each other, the more chance that any of us will die. So we can all work separately, but for the same sort of end. Either way. So, let's continue on. However, as Detik Bella said, Magical Daisy has died in real life, didn't she? We shouldn't discount the possibility that the Master has a spy amongst us who's secretly reinforcing her threats to us. I want to say that we shouldn't trust anyone, but I have one more thing to add, if that's all right. Fled, taking the stage after Detik Bell just in front of the mermaid statue. Although it might not be an appropriate time like this, I'd like to say this now because of how bad it might be. Petchka's eyes met with her. Why did Fleth smile at Petchka? Petchka gazed away in panic. She was smiling right now, but what kind of mental state was she really in? Fleth shouted out in a loud voice that reverberated across the town square. I'd like to have everyone's cooperation. Okay, well, all of my stuff I just said during that page break, useless now. Okay, I'd like to have everyone's cooperation. Everyone's attention was focused on her, and she continued without hesitation. After I logged into the game earlier, I wanted to meet up with my party. However, one of my party members, Masked Wonder, was killed. If death in the game is linked to death in real life, then she was really killed in the truest sense of the word, it seems. At the end of her sentence, she seemed to murmur. Before our logout period last time, I've given her the event item that I won. All of those items, including the magical candies, were all stolen. I'd like the culprit to step forward. That can't be true, the blue magical girl shouted out. Masked Wonder was a super strong magical girl. She can't have been killed that easily. Oh, so that makes sense. She had given... I remember now. She had given the item to Masked Wonder because she was the combat user. So now they can find out who the murderer is by who has that item. Okay. Only magical girls exist in the game. Being strong isn't a sufficient condition as to why she wouldn't be killed. They couldn't argue with Flez's words. The blue magical girl fell down, her face looking distorted. She tightly clenched her fist. She was trembling. Detik Bell placed her hands on the girl's shoulder. She talked to her, probably trying to cheer her up. This was terrible. Of course it would be. They listened to Fall's outrageous words, and their disturbing atmosphere still wouldn't be over. Are you sure a monster didn't kill her? Leonetta's question was legitimate. Needless to say, Magical Daisy was an example of that. It would have been natural for a monster to go after players. The Wasteland area's encounters only contain basic skeletons. They'd have trouble killing something that's not a magical girl, I guarantee you. Moreover, is anyone here from Magical Daisy's team? A 10-year-old looking maid magical girl raised her hands. Fleth faced the magical girl and asked her a question. What happened to Magical Daisy's items and candy? We still thought it'd be useful, so after we discussed it, we decided to divide it up between everyone. She tried to speak as smoothly as possible. Indeed, it does seem difficult, looting a corpse. Looting a corpse wasn't exactly something good to do either. After she finished talking, the maid retreated, making her already small body look smaller, hiding behind the China magical girl's back. Did you hear that? Fle's palm was raised, waving around. A monster killed Magical Daisy, yet her items and magical candies remained in her magical phone. Meanwhile, Masked Wonder's magical phone was completely devoid of any items or candies. That's the utmost proof that someone robbed Masked Wonder. Leonetta, Clantail, Miyakata, Nanako, and even Petchka, all four of them looked at each other's faces. Restarting the game was mandatory. Everyone should have respawned in their original starting points. Petchka's group couldn't have done anything. They joined up together immediately. Who would have had the time to commit a murder and steal from their magical phone? Of course, Petchka wouldn't be the one to do it, and she didn't think the other three had time to do it either. At least the culprit shouldn't be in Petchka's party. I'd like the culprit to truthfully reveal themselves. After we restarted the game, we have yet to learn the truth of life and death within this game. Masked Wonder's murder was an act that you've done as part of the game. I don't blame you, so come out. There was no reaction, only murmurs. Fle took out her magical phone. Very well then, I'd like to examine all of your magical phones. The culprit's magical phone should have Masked Wonder's miracle coin inside of it. More whispers. Clantail took a deep breath, then moved forward. What's with this shakedown? Is this a witch hunt? Isn't it fitting that we have a witch hunt for the witch hiding among the magical girls? With that remark, Clantail sharpened her eyes against her opponent, as if they were two duelists in a shootout. Fle cleared her throat and changed her speech. Faultless magical girls, when pulled into this game, may travel down a dark path. In other words, they may turn to PvP. Should they reveal themselves now, I only ask that they return the miracle coin, and I won't blame them otherwise. Case closed. However, if they choose not to reveal themselves, then that's concerning. What do you mean? It means that within us, one of the supposed victims is only pretending and is really a perpetrator. We shouldn't discount the possibility that there isn't a magical girl here that moves according to the Master's will. Clantail couldn't answer. Fle kept on. A saboteur, possibly mixed in with otherwise honest people. Don't you think that's a possibility? She asked Fal. Fal said nothing, remaining silent and floating. Fal, you say that you'll only speak the truth, yet you won't answer me now. That's why I'd like to clear my concerns. So then, does that culprit still not want to reveal themselves? No one opened their mouths. I am kind of suspicious. I hate to say this because I like her design, and she hasn't done anything bad, so it's like I'm blaming someone based only on their physical appearance. But I would say in this situation, I least trust Melville, just because she looks very Clamberry-ish. And if there is somebody evil, and she is related to Clamberry in some way, then it maybe makes sense that she could be the Master or the Master's spy. So, yeah. Just throwing that one out there. That I kind of least trust her in this situation. Okay, no one opened their mouths. Once again, because of this, I'd like to examine all of your magical phones. If you are one of the magical girls forced to be here like us, then simply showing your item column shouldn't be a problem. Clantail spat on the ground and glared at Fle. If it were Petchka, she would have burst into tears, looking at her glaring eyes. Fle simply calmly looked back. Clantail threw her magical phone furiously at her. Fle caught it with one hand. The murmurs continued. Everyone was staring at the two's exchange. Thank you. Much appreciated. Fle checked Clantail's magical phone. Ah, no problems here. There are no miracle coins in her items column. Well then, as a precaution, would you like to check mine as well? She returned Clantail's magical phone. At the same time, Fle also gave Clantail her own magical phone. Clantail silently accepted it. I don't see any problems either. After a press, she returned the magical phone. All right then, I'd like to ask everyone to do the same, please. Only the culprit should be in trouble now. If you're innocent, then you should have nothing to worry about. Why are you suspecting me? Is this seriously happening right now? Many complaints were being shouted. Oh, hold on, I lost my place. Many complaints were being shouted. It seems that everyone's come to the conclusion that everyone else is a suspect. Petchka, like everyone else, lined up in a row. Fle checked her magical phone. Petchka couldn't possibly be the culprit, yet she was nervous until Fle confirmed it and returned her phone back. Flett checked her other party members, the black nurse, the same way she checked Clantail's phone. Why would she check her own party member's phone? They were teammates with Masked Wonder, right? Immediately, Petchka thought of another possibility. She said that Masked Wonder's items were all stolen, with a calm and innocent look on her face. When Petchka thought of the possibilities, it frightened her, she felt frightened with herself. One by one, everyone was checked. The line that formed in front of Pless slowly disappeared, and everyone returned to where they were. Pless spoke to the corner of the square. Well then, we've investigated everyone but you. If you aren't the culprit, I'd like you to cooperate as well. Petchka looked at the direction of where she spoke. She saw a samurai magical girl with a katana lowered on her right hand. Petchka remembered she could never forget her encounter at the start of the game. She annihilated the skeletons, and then she grabbed Petchka by the throat with the intention to kill. Well then? Fleur urged her. The samurai girl didn't move. It seems like she didn't hear her. Her line of sight was aimed directly at Fleur, the katana on her right hand lightly shaking. Come now, let's be quick, please. Everyone's waiting for you. There was a passing breeze, at least that's what it felt like. Petchka gulped. Petchka wondered if everyone else thought the same thing. Everyone's magical phones had already been checked, and none of the items were found on any of them. Which means the only remaining person left to check may be the one. Fleur stretched out her arm. The samurai magical girl moved. Everyone held their breath and watched. Her katana was still dangling limply on her right hand. Petchka didn't think anyone would have the mental strength to approach someone like her. Whoa. Slow down there, girl. Petchka's expectations were surpassed. One magical girl stepped forward. She had a helmet on with cat ears covering the top. A semi-transparent visor pulled down, and the suit looked like something out of a sci-fi show. She looked like one of those rerunning B-movie level tokusatsu shows. I know people are suspecting you and all, but let's just be as honest as we can, all right? Petchka couldn't imagine how she could act so calm around someone suspicious with a blade in their hand. The B-movie magical girl placed her hands on the samurai magical girl's shoulder. It was shaken off. The samurai magical girl glanced at the B-movie magical girl. Her line of sight was directly pointed at her. Are you the musician? Excuse me? Musician. Well, I guess you could say I am, though. It's really just me using Vocaloids to post music videos of my own songs. The katana swung up swiftly. A slicing sound was heard, accompanied by the sound of wet liquid hitting something. Inside the B-movie magical girl's visor was stained red, and she collapsed. Someone screamed out, Hold up! So wait, her katana can slice inside of the suit? I mean, I guess it can slice at a distance, that's possible. And this is just again like Magical Daisy's death where somebody got way too confident. But a murder in this situation where somebody's just been murdered. Excuse me is right. What? Okay. I'm gonna keep reading. What the fuck? Hold on. Whoa. I'm just taken aback by the possibility of Genocycle dying here. Nokko-chan, please. We're cutting to Nokko-chan. Please calm down. Fleck kept her hand out. She had talked with the magical girl holding the katana. There were no stains on the katana. Instead, it reflected in the sunlight, shining silvery white. At Nyan rushed before Nokko-chan to reach Genocycle. Genocycle, medical care. She needs medical care. Calm down, just calm down. It'd be dangerous if she rushed now. Oh, she could maybe be saved if, the nurse could heal her, Shadow Gale. Calm down, just calm down. It'd be dangerous if she rushed now. Nokko-chan understood that Nyan was extremely worried for Genocycle, but it's still too dangerous. If she makes any sudden movements, that assassin will strike again. If she strikes, then there will be another death. Then others will move in. It'll create a chain reaction of deaths. Nokko-chan had to calm herself down. Then she had to spread that calmness towards Nyan. She had to stop her from heading toward Genocycle. Well, technically, couldn't she use that to make the samurai girl, to change her personality? Or, not her personality, but her feelings? Either way. Why don't you put that sword away for now? Let's discuss this peacefully. As if nothing had happened, Fleck kept smiling. She was gently urging her opponent to surrender. At the same time, a single light beam was shot, and that light stream was sliced into just as fast. The black nurse dashed ahead, carried Fleur, and jumped away. The ground where Fled had been just a moment ago had been sliced in two. Nokko-chan was a veteran magical girl. She's seen many magical girls like her fighting, even the most esoteric ones. She was easily able to analyze what had happened. From the wheels of Fled's wheelchair, a small bird decoration popped out. It had opened its mouth and shot a beam of light. The beam of light was instantly sliced in half by the katana of the samurai magical girl. Then, the katana magical girl was about to swing her katana once again towards Fled, but the black nurse jumped from the sidelines and saved her. While she was analyzing what had happened, Nokko-chan ran behind a building. Some of the other magical girls joined the attack, while some retreated, hiding within the shadows of the buildings, away from the line of sight of the enemy. Several giant harpoons flew and pierced the skies. Each one of them was intercepted. Vertically, horizontally, diagonally, all of them were sliced in half, broken and cut before they could reach their target, a loud and heavy sound accompanying them as they crashed to the ground. The katana magical girl hasn't moved from her spot at all, yet all the harpoons were sliced, rolling down on the ground. Gigantic sunflower seeds flew across the air. Those were cut as well. Boulders were thrown too, all of them cut and broken. There were probably long-range slashes. Genocyco's invisible suit didn't work because she was sliced through the visor. The suit was never damaged, only Genocyco, who was inside the suit, had red blood sprayed out. Okay? In other words, she can kill anything she sees. Genocyco's face may be covered with her visor, but she could still see her face. That was what Nokko-chan was thinking. That's also why Nokko-chan couldn't do anything. Also very impressive that Nokko-chan is 10 years old and is so good at analyzing all of these fights. Really shows how she's a veteran, I suppose. And not only that, it's interesting that we saw Melville go in with the harpoons and they were all just cut in half. So it seems like the katana magical girl may be the antagonist here, other than the master, the obvious antagonist. Jeez. Just still bummed about Genocyco dying and then having to continue on reading. Okay. In other words, if she came nearer, she'd be killed. In the shadow of the building where Nokko-chan was hiding, another magical girl was hiding there as well. She was holding her knees, shaking hard. She had a white hat on her head. Nokko-chan expected nothing less. She couldn't find where the other magical girls were hiding from here. The sound of the attack stopped. A few minutes have passed. Though that was only what it felt like. It may have actually been a few seconds. Okay. Hold on. Moving on, next page. No one moved. A loud rubbing noise in the town square was heard. It was a loud sound of something being dragged, like two pieces of concrete rubbing each other. Gradually it became larger. Nokko-chan looked above. The building that she was hiding in, it was going to collapse. Not the whole building itself, but only the upper half. Its height was 20 meters, and its length was about the same. It was sliced diagonally in half. It was falling this way. She'll be crushed. Even as a magical girl, this wasn't safe. Nokko-chan kicked away the magical girl hiding next to her. Afterwards, she jumped towards the other side. In this way, she escaped from the impact of the falling building. The other girl she kicked should have been kicked away from danger, she hoped. The upper half of the building made a thunderous sound as it crashed to the ground, a shattering noise that could hurt your eardrums. Thanks to the vibrations of the falling building in front of her, Nokko-chan couldn't stand. Both her legs and her arms were on the ground. From behind the large smoke cloud, the katana magical girl was standing there calmly. "Musician," she breathed out those last bits of words. She lifted the sword up. They were standing around 10 meters apart. She swung her sword down. A large boulder that appeared 3 meters in front of her was sliced in half. Huh? If she had swung down while Nokko-chan was in her line of sight, then Nokko-chan would have been sliced in half. However, before the katana was swung down, her line of sight was blocked. A giant boulder appeared in the space between Nokko-chan and the enemy. Consequently, instead of Nokko-chan, the boulder was sliced instead. "Stay away from her, Rue." Nyan stood in front of Nokko-chan. In between each of her fingers were a series of small scrolls. She was standing with the stance of a Chinese Kempo fighter. She glared at her enemy with a deep breath. Nyan ran across. Sliding her foot, her opponent began to raise the tip of her katana. The katana was swung down at the same time a scroll was thrown. It disappeared with a small explosion. Afterward, a giant boulder appeared in its place. As a result, the boulder was sliced in half, its broken wrecks overlapping with each other. The scroll that had an @ mark drawn on it flew in front of her, splitting open and transforming into a boulder. So I'm assuming she might be able to store things in her scrolls, is her ability. Also, the fact that she's using boulders like this kind of makes me think, Nyan Nyan, are you a murderer? Did you bash in Masked Wonder's head? Either way, though, the Katana Magical Girl raised her voice. Because I feel like, why would Masked Wonder's head be bashed in if it was by, the Samurai Girl? She would just cut her, you know? Either way, Katana Magical Girl raised her voice. She pulled her left arm in, bringing it together with her right one. Her left arm's index finger, middle finger, and thumb held and supported the katana in her right hand. Together, with her right hand, she swung the katana with a speed that no one could perceive. The boulder was cut. Its broken and crushed pebbles came darting out. Everything was crushed into dust. The boulder that was sliced caused everything to be blinded with the white mist of the sandy ground. The wind blew and the dust danced in the air. The pieces of the boulder sitting on the battlefield. Two people confronting each other emerged. The magical girl holding a mop, Nokko-chan, and the magical girl holding the katana. Although it was now possible for Nokko-chan to stand, that doesn't mean there was anything that she could do. She had no means of attacking her opponent, who was over 10 meters away from her. The katana magical girl, from her previous actions, Nokko-chan knew what to expect from her. The samurai magical girl tilted her neck, and Nokko-chan could see her teeth show. She was grinning. Nokko-chan knew that there was nothing she could do to prevent herself from being killed by the slash, so that's why she grinned. Suddenly, the sun became dark. Nyan Nyan was nowhere to be found, yet she wasn't concerned. She didn't care about the details right now. The enemy in front of Nokko-chan moved, her intention being to kill. The magical girl who smiled, she didn't stop smiling, even after she was crushed by the desolate building that fell above her. What? Okay, so a building fell on the samurai girl. Nokko-chan looked on top of the building that fell down on the ground. Standing on top of the building was Nyan Nyan. In contrast to the magical girl that smiled before she was crushed. Hold on. The page just moved on its own there. In contrast to the magical girl that smiled before she was crushed, her face was covered in tears. If Nyan Nyan wasn't there, then Nokko-chan wouldn't have been killed. Nokko-chan would have been killed. Nyan Nyan's boulders protected Nokko-chan. Earlier, Nyan Nyan had used her scrolls while she was continuously conjuring boulders. She ran up the surrounding buildings. From above, she jumped up and summoned the wasteland buildings. Thanks to that, Nokko-chan wasn't killed. Nokko-chan gave her thanks, but she was still crying. Genocycle had been murdered. The two of them looked at the place where her body had fallen after she was killed. Genocycle wasn't there. Only the magical phone was left laying on the ground. So Genocycle is killed then, I'm assuming. It's possible that she was taken by somebody else since the body isn't there. But I think we can since the body's not there, maybe she was taken by somebody else, because they said that they had to bury Daisy's body, and they said that they found they found Masked Wonder's body, and it was still there after some time. So that means the bodies probably don't just disappear. So somebody maybe took the body, and it is possible that if Shadow Gale took her body, she could be saved. But I think for now, the assumption that we are to make is that she's dead. That's the assumption I'll take. I'm thinking 99% sure she's dead, but there is that small chance that maybe somebody did grab her. But either way, now we have Master Side Part 3. Well, how was it? Sigh. It was horrible, Pone. Everyone was angry, crying, and they tried to kill me, Pone. If I wasn't a stereoscopic image, I'd be mincemeat, Pone. I see. The girl lightly smiled. Her left index finger touched the frame of her glasses, raising them up and repositioning them. But hey, they got the message now, didn't they? I'm sure those girls will have realized it by now, the situation that they're in. I would think it, yet they're still going to participate in the game. No one refused, nobody was disgusted. They've accepted that they're forced to participate in the game. The girl's long speech continued on and on. Fall cleared his throat, cutting off her speech. The girl blinked twice and glanced at Fall. What? I have a proposal, Pone. I'm listening. You still have time for now, don't you think, Pone? Have time for what? If you surrender now, the Land of Magic might still give you a reduced sentence, Pone. And if I don't think I will. I can't guarantee that you won't get the death sentence, Pone. Oh, that sounds horrible. Certainly a magical girl needs to be alive if they want to stay a magical girl, don't they? Her words were choppy. Fall, the girl, they stared at each other. There's still a way out for you, Pone. Whatever are you saying, The girl was wrapping her own bangs around her fingertips. The girl's hair, although it was short, she had a habit of doing that. She seems to always care for it. Master, I don't mind that you threatened me. I don't mind that you deceived me. I don't even mind that you ignored all my pleas, Pone. But you can still frame me as the criminal, Pone. And just what do you mean by that? Turn yourself in, tell them that I did it all, tell the Land of Magic that my mascot character gathers some magical girls and put them in a killing game. They'll accept it and they'll take action. Hey now. The girl began rotating the chair that she was sitting on, half a turn. Her body was now facing Fall. The centrifugal force of the spin made her glasses messed up again. Her left middle finger adjusted it once more. I'm not just gonna go and turn tail just 'cause I'm afraid of my own sins now. What do you think, I'm a wimp? Man, the version of me inside of you sounds like a super boring magical girl. It's disgusting to think that I would beg for forgiveness for my actions. I'll gladly accept them as all my own. If you surrender now, oh, shut it already. The girl took her hands away from her bangs. They were separate before, but they've joined together again. Don't you go dampening my justice, mascot. Only proper magical girls are allowed to be magical girls. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing, that's what. If a magical girl that's improper becomes a magical girl, then the Land of Magic's institution and selection tests are broken. The worst of them all is that woman. The next thing that comes close may be her children. Don't you think so? The girl smiled at Fall. I'm going to honor my mentor's teachings. That's how I'll become a magical girl. Okay, wondering who her mentor was. So, she said the worst thing is that woman, and second is her children. And I've thought before, it seems that this chick does not like Clamberry, but I'm wondering if maybe she was one of the Clamberry's children. But one thing I thought before is that maybe all the girls joined in this game were children of Clamberry. That would explain why one of them looks like Clamberry, why one of them's looking for the musician. I was thinking that maybe they're all children of Clamberry, but maybe not. And that's why this person's maybe trying to kill them off with this game. But, yeah, either way. Or the only one that seems like maybe she'd be too old to possibly be a child of Clamberry. I mean, I guess Nokko-chan may be too old of a magical girl. I would think maybe it's Magical Daisy, and that would work with my theory that maybe Magical Daisy is the evil mastermind behind it. But yeah, either way, this was a very, very, very good chapter. I'm sad that Jenna Psycho died, sad that Masked Wonder died, but damn, it was a really good chapter, especially that second half with that meeting scene. That meeting scene was so good. I like Fowl, though. I really do. It's not something I was expecting to say, but I do, because Fowl's just like, come on, you can turn me in, you're my master, I want to help you or whatever. And, like, he warned her that it could be a death sentence, and he tried to get her to stop, he tried to get her beforehand to stop, and she's the one that lied to him in the beginning when it first started. I really feel like I really kind of sympathize with Fall, because he's trying to not kill all these girls. He's trying to do good, but as a mascot / familiar, whatever, he physically cannot disobey his master. So, man, it's kind of a tragic story for him, where he's watching all these girls die, and it's partially his fault, but he doesn't want it to be his fault. He just has no choice. But yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, I loved all the stuff with Nokko-chan. Really pissed at Samurai Girl. Do not like her because she is killing too many waifus. Do not know who killed Master Wonder still. I have a bunch of different guesses. I mean, At Nyan has the power to drop boulders, so I mean, that's of course a possibility. Melville's team, I don't totally completely trust yet. Yeah. I just do not know. Clantail was acting kind of weird about the being accused thing, which, I mean, is understandable if you're accused and you're innocent, but still was putting up a bit of a fuss. Lots of complexity going on. We still don't quite know what Genocycle said. Like I said, I think 99% sure she's dead, but there's also that possibility that maybe somebody saved her since the body wasn't there. So yeah, that is it. I'll go ahead and end this one. We can comment down there. When I read your comments and stuff, we'll have discussion in the hot Q&A, I'm sure. And then after the discussion in the hot Q&A, we'll be moving right back on along to Chapter 4 next week. I don't know if I'll be splitting it in half or not. I'll have to see how long it is. I'll have to look at the page number. So yeah, that's it. Like, if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my first thoughts and reaction and everything. Anything you want to discuss here. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project and more. I guess we're talking about it 2-3 times a week now. Follow on Twitter if you want, I guess. Try to keep you updated there and stuff with the channel. That is it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.